How does Python's exception-based class work? Imagine trying to catch a falling object without knowing what it is. In Python, the exception-based class is like the root of all error types that can happen in your program. It is called BaseException and is the top of the exception hierarchy. Every error or exception you see in Python is a subclass of this class. That means all exceptions, whether they are simple errors or system signals, come from BaseException. Now, not all exceptions are created equal. Some are meant to stop the program, like when you press Ctrl+C or the program wants to exit. These are also part of BaseException but are usually not caught by your code. Instead, most errors you want to handle come from the exception class, which is a subclass of BaseException. This helps you avoid catching system exit signals by mistake. When you raise an exception, Python creates an object from a class that inherits from BaseException. This object can hold information about the error, like a message. For example, if you raise an error with a message, that message is stored in an attribute called args. When you catch an exception with a try and except block, you get access to this object. You can then look at the message or other details to understand what went wrong. Exceptions also have special attributes that help you see the chain of errors. The context attribute shows the previous exception if a new one was raised during handling another. The cause attribute links exceptions explicitly if you use the raise, from, syntax. The suppress context attribute controls whether the context is shown when printing the exception. These features help you trace errors step by step, making debugging easier. Most of the time, when you want to raise an error, you use the exception class or its subclasses. For example, you might write raise exception. Something went wrong. This creates an exception object with your message. When you catch this exception, you can print the message or handle it in other ways. Remember, you usually do not raise or catch BaseException directly because it includes system signals like keyboard interrupt or system exit that you generally want to let the program handle normally. In summary, the exception-based class is the foundation of all error handling in Python. It manages the creation of exception objects, stores error messages, and keeps track of the chain of errors. Understanding how BaseException works helps you write better error handling and debugging code. It makes your programs more reliable and easier to troubleshoot when things go wrong.